7 till 5 when fishing.
Who do you think?
Have a guess.
Who do you think for?
Every
65.
Down here with.
What's he got? 56 quid. 41, Jamie. Yeah. You know, like a fucking film, yeah, over me.
That first one? Yeah. That first one?
Second one. Second one.
You look stressed out. Down that, did you?
Hi, my name's Jamie Hughes. I'm here today at King's Pools Fishery in the Midlands, and I brought the map cameras here today and they're going to follow me through a match. So we're at King's Pools. I've drawn peg 41 on the big match pool, which to me this is a brand new venue. I've never been here before, so I'm really looking forward to see how the day pans out. It seems as it's going to be quite an F1 dominated match that I'm going to fish. It's going to be a lot of pellets, possibly some casters shallow, but the peg that we've also drawn is right outside the cafe. And we've got some lovely lilies and all sorts down the edge, which means a bit of mauling is going to be involved later on. Possibly we're going to catch some bigger carp down there later, which it's going to bring a bit of running line fishing into things. So we're going to have a nice varied day doing plenty of things. But right now I'm going to get some rig sorted because I've not got a clue what depths or anything we're going to find. So we're going to have a plumb about, then we'll have a chat about bait, and then we'll see how we go. Woohoo! Right, well, just about to start. I think we've got 3 minutes more to set up. As usual, I'm nowhere flipping near ready, but hey ho. What my plan I'm going to do is, as I said before, it's going to be a very much an F1 dominated match, I think, with the exception of a few big carp down there. So to begin my match, I'm going to lash a big bait down there. I'm going to fish popped up red on a lead just to start with and see how it goes. I'm going to try and catch a couple of big fish, mainly so I can watch everyone else and see how it's going. Because we're not knowing the venue, I don't want to jump into anything and feed the wrong baits, try and catch shallow when I shouldn't be. I don't want to do the wrong thing. So by watching everyone else, I can get a good idea of how the match is going to progress, the sort of weights I'm going to need, and I'll sort of get to see how the lake's fishing before I commit to anything. So that's going to be my plan. I'm going to chuck a bread down there, hopefully get a few big uns, and then I think the rest of the peg's going to be, I'm going to stick with pellets nearly everywhere. I'm going to start with hard pellets, see how that goes. Apparently there's lots of small fish, so we're going to see with hard pellets, see if I can catch proper fish, and after that, if I need to, I'll swap to soft ones if I need to get bites to keep fish coming in. Well, that's the whistle's just gone, so let's get a lead out there, see what we catch. So I think with what Jordan said, it's only going to be like a nice 80, 90 pound day. So it's not going to be a hectic, you've got to empty it day, I don't think. So with a bit of luck, by just catching steady all day, we should do enough to get us up there or thereabouts. There. Go there. There's a bread. What I'm going to do, I'll put 3 pieces on and a bit of crust, and the crust's going to pop it up lovely off the bottom for me. A little go of that. What I'm actually fishing on that lead is I'm fishing a fixed lead, a fixed 3/4 of an ounce lead with a small 6-inch hook length on it, and then some popped up bread, 5 or 6 pieces of popped up bread on it. What I'm after with bread is I need them to hook themselves. Because it's a suspended bait, I've got a loose line between my lead and my bait. So by having a big heavy lead that's locked, the fish is going to take my bait, hook itself, and the bite should be really positive. The only thing I think it will create is some serious hard pulling carp, because they're going to have spooked off the bite. I'm going to have to do some real pulling if I do get any bites in this area with all the lily pads. Just had my second cast in there. I wasn't quite happy with the first one, the way it went in. So I've just chucked it again. So, well, I'm not in any rush to do anything at the moment. No one's catching any fish. I've not seen anything get caught anywhere. So I'm quite happy in the knowledge that I'm not spoiling my peg by feeding any baits that aren't going to get eaten, or the wrong baits. I'm still happy just to sit here. I think it's definitely going to be a slow start. It was quite cold last night. So I think erring on the side of caution is definitely the way to go. Keeping things really, really simple just to begin with, before I commit to anything. Well, as I say, I'm going to sit here for another 10 or 15 minutes, see if we get a bite. There's a few fish down there. I've seen a few fish swimming around them lilies. So there's every chance that we could get a bite. Say, but for the next 10 minutes, I'm not going to feed any bait anywhere. We're just going to sit here. So watch all these chaps, see who starts catching, and try and work out what's the best thing to do next. Right, well, I've had a couple of chucks on that bomb, and it really didn't feel like anything was going to happen on that. So I'm going to leave it a bit to warm up and let the fish get a little bit more active. See if I can get a bite on that later. So I've still not seen anything really getting caught anywhere. I think maybe a couple of small silvers, that's it. So I'm just going to go in. I've threw a couple of pellets down here short. There's been the odd F1 moving around the lily pads. So I'm just going to go in short here, see if I can get a couple of bites short. Just try and get a feel for what's going on. It's really difficult to know what to do. With not being here before and not knowing quite how many fish there are to be caught, it's very hard to know where's the right place to be fishing at this time. But I'm not going to make any big decisions just yet. So all I'm fishing on these lilies, I've tapped a few micros in, and I'm just fishing it to begin with, a banded 4mm on the hook. Just a nice little hard pellet that anything can eat, but hopefully I won't catch too many small fish on it. But at the moment, nothing's happening. As I would have expected some interest quite quickly with such a big feature like that. You'd expect there to be almost instant fish onto your feed on a peg like that. Oh, I winged that one in. There's one there then. So I'm not fishing too heavy on this line. I'm keep everything nice and light. I've got 0.15 main line, so it's nice and durable being near these snags. But I've still only got an 0.12 hook length. I often find it really good to fish light hook lengths near snags, as long as the fish aren't too big, because it allows you to, there's a bit of a bite there, it allows you to break your hook length easily. If you do become snagged in whatever you're fishing against, then at least the bottom end of your rig's going to break and you're not going to lose your whole rig by fishing too heavy. You're going to be able to just put a new hook length on and go straight back in with a bit of luck. So it'll also help us get a few more bites, hopefully. I'd be reluctant to go any lower than 0.12. I think 0.10 might get us a few more bites, but with weeds like this, I don't think I'll be getting many fish out. Finally, I've just had my first bite. I think we're half hour into the match. Let's say that, what's that, probably a pound? Maybe just under a pound, so we're going to need a lot of fish. We're going to need 80 pound, I think. So I've got to catch another 70 odd more of them. Which if they come that slow, I've got no chance. But say at the moment, it's still really nice and slow. No one's catching. So hopefully we should be all right. It's definitely confirming what we thought at the start, that it's going to need to be a very negative match to begin with, just to catch anything we possibly can. So I still think pellets are the best way to go at the moment, just to be nice and selective. There seems to be a lot of little silvers jumping, which I was warned about at the start, so I don't want to go feeding any maggots or casters just yet. So what I've done, I've made a swap. I quickly swapped my hook length, and I've swapped to an expander pellet now, because I didn't feel like a hard pellet was going to catch me a fish. I felt like there weren't any fish in my peg, especially not small fish to worry about. So by swapping quickly to an expander pellet, hopefully that's a bit more appealing now to the fish. With it being a bit harder, you often find that a soft pellet's better on the harder days. You get a few more bites with a soft pellet. So I've not fed any more lines yet. I've just fed this one line short. just to sort of get a feel for things. So I've plumbed up another line at 13 metres where it goes a little bit deeper out there, and there's a bit of a channel where it goes to probably about 3.5 foot. That's an option to move to that later. So I've got some lovely lily beds to my left. I'm going to try down there later, and I'm going to feed a short line about 5 or 6 metres in front of me. I think that could be a really good area. If it fishes well later on, they could turn up on that. But for the moment, we're not in any panic. We're just going to sit here and watch what everyone else is doing and see if it's worth changing. So I'm still seeing quite a few fish to those lilies on my left hand side, right up towards the cafe. There's quite a few fish moving in that area still. I'm beginning to think whether I did the right thing by fishing a straight lead and bread down there. Possibly I should have threw a little feeder or something, a little pellet feeder or a little method maybe. I think that may have been a better option. So with bread, it's great if there's a few big fish feeding, but I think I was stopping myself from catching any other fish, any small F1s that I may have caught if I'd have fed some pellets on a method or a cage feeder. So I'm not quite sure what would be best. I think starting on a method would be the right way to go, and then see if we get any bites on that. That might be my next change, depending what people catch. That is proper pop-up bread, that, isn't it? I don't think I can be any braver than that. Right, that's just flew round, and for a second it was trying to go to the left and I was really in trouble. But luckily it's felt sorry for me, and it's just kited round to the right. So I'd only been in a couple of seconds, that one as well, probably a minute maybe. And it's gone round, it feels a little bit bigger as well, it doesn't feel like an F1. It's nice. I think if I could catch a few fish doing this before the F1 start feeding elsewhere, that'd be brilliant. Definitely feel a bit lucky with that one. It wasn't anywhere near as mental as I thought it was going to be. It's not quite as big as I thought it would be either. Well, it's a decent start. What's that one, £4 maybe? 3.5, £4. We'll take that. Just slide my leads down. It's really important that I have that lead fixed at all times. If it's free running, then the fish aren't going to hook themselves. So I want that nicely locked down, just with a couple of shots above the lead. That's keeping it nice and tight when a fish is finally taking it, if a fish takes it. There we go, I'm just ripping a little bit of crust off. Just pinging it through. It's a great big bit of bait. Really big bait that they're taking. Let's see if his mate's there still. I was a bit excited, Rich. It's got me happier now. But yeah, I'm starting to get a knock on, and that's all right. Right, well, we're an hour and 15 minutes in now, and I've made my third line. I've just made another line towards these lily pads. Had a couple more chucks on the bomb, didn't get another bite after that last fish. And again, it just seems to be really hard. I'm not seeing, no one's catching anything at the moment. There's plenty of fish about. You're seeing lots of fish topping and knocking the lilies, and I mean, there's definitely plenty of fish in front of everyone. But at the moment, they ain't having a chew. So I've just made this new line, and I missed the bite first cast. I just missed another little indication then. but it definitely feels like the clever fish. It's definitely not a venue where you're going to feed and they're going to crawl on your bait and you're going to bag up all day. It took me by surprise a bit, just how clued up they seem to be. You almost need to be really in winter mode and just tapping tiny little bits of bait out all the time. You know, having something constantly going through the water. And I think that's what's going to bring the fish into me pegs. If the more bait I put in, the more options I'm giving them on the bottom and the less chance I've got of getting a bite. So I need to definitely be even more careful than I was planning on at the start. It seems that as little as 10 or 20 micros can knacker me peg just by tapping in half a dozen. See, it's keeping that bait going through the water again. It'll bite straight away then as soon as I've fed some bait. Actually, I'm not 100% sure yet what the fish actually are that are down this side. So we had that one carp on the lead, and by the fish that I've seen in the actual area, there's a chance there could be a few proper carps. We've just hooked one then over the top of their micros. There's not a big fish, but like another little F1. Yeah, they're like quite new stock fish then. They're 2 to a pound. So the expander's definitely proving a little bit better. So I've got it on quite light gear at the moment. I've got a size 18 pellet hook, which is good for catching these small fish, but so I'm going to have to be careful. If I start hooking proper carp, then I'm going to quickly swap that to a 16 just because of the elastic I've got on. I've got 8 to 10 elastic. I'm going to need to pull a little bit harder, and with an 18 hook, there's a good chance of ripping the hook out of fish. So by scaling up to a 16, if I need to, it'll just give me a little bit more of a hook in the fish's mouth, so I can do a bit of heaving. But so we'll see how they behave. I won't do that until I lose one under these lilies. No one's catching nothing. Well, that's good, that's what we need, isn't it? If everyone was emptying it, my head would have gone by now. This is going to be alright, we're just going to plod away catching little scroters. That's a perch foul hook, isn't it? Backwards perch. If they're that big, you'd catch them, wouldn't you? That one, a tiny one, that would catch 40 pounder then. Little backwards perch. Then that went over the back of it though. Do you know what I mean? It didn't. This is a massive perch, foul hooked. It's foul hooked again, like defo. Yeah, it's definitely gone over the back of it as it's gone in. Fighting dead weird though. Normally they're dead angry when you foul hook them. This one's like dead odd. Yeah, like it's definitely foul up, but it's not. I bet it's tiny. It was just going on one. Yeah, just sort of wobble in and we got ya. Well, this is going to ping off any second. I can tell. Oh, we got it. Tell you what, mate. If the F1s are that big, then I'll be a flipping happy lad. Much better stamp if we can catch them like that. Right, the other one. Lazy F1 this. It's like me, it just wants to wobble about and eat. You know, you get the odd one that just does that, just doesn't care, just yet, let me in. little bit bigger. No, that's finally something happening now. Was that a fish then, or was that a duck? That was. I'll make the coot. Woohoo! You have a wobble. So what's all that about? 3 or 4 that well behaved and 1 that's an absolute lunatic. I thought they were a lot bigger than that then. But that peg's definitely not being consistent. There is an odd fish there, yeah, but do you know what I mean? I'm not putting any weight in my net. I feel like I'm better off spending my time letting that sort of build up a little bit. I'll get a bit of confidence on that, and I'll catch better later on then. Whereas if I sit on it now and catch everything I possibly can off it, then when it comes to catching a few later on when they're feeding, I think there's going to be nothing there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have another quick chuck on bomb and bread over there, see if we catch out. And I think I'm going to alternate this with that line I've just caught a few F1s on then, but I do think after that I'm going to have 1 cast on bomb and bread, see if I get a carp, and if not, I'm going to swap it to a little method feeder, I think, although I might fish a pellet feed, I haven't decided yet, and I'm going to try and catch some F1s off this far hole. Ooh, not going to catch one there. A bad angling. Didn't want to do that either. It's not good having a dodgy cast when you're fishing for resident carp like that. A bad cast could quite easily send them scarpering. But I'll give it one more chance. Spit it. Don't eat my bread, please. Right, well, I've just had a chuck on that bomb and bread again, and so I didn't get an indication on it this time, but I've not actually seen any fish over there for quite a while now, so I don't think the proper carp that were there originally are still there feeding. So what I've done, I've just swapped to a little flat method. So instead of a conventional method, I'm going to chuck one of the little map flatbed ones, because I can feed a lot less bait with that. Because I'm a bit worried about how quickly they went off my pole line. Once I'd fed 3 or 4 times, it went very quiet, very quick. So I don't want to do the same thing on my method. So by chucking quite a small feeder, it's a floating lily pad. Yeah, by chucking quite a small feeder, hopefully it'll make my peg last a little bit longer if there's anything there willing to have a feed on it. So I'm going to have a couple of quick chucks. What I'm noticing as well now, there's quite a few fish moving in the gap in between the lilies and the bank. That's caught on that flipping floating lily, that. And while it's not going to be pretty if I do end up fishing down there, well, that could definitely be an area that I can catch a few big fish later on if they want to come right into the shallower water. Then I think that's definitely going to be an option, is chucking a bit of bait down there. So I don't know quite what I'd do. I'm going to plumb it up and see what I find. So what is very noticeable is that no one's catching anything away from any features. All the fish seem to be hiding under the features today, whether it's this bright sunshine and with it being a bit cold last night. I think everything is pretty much hiding. It's not really wanting to feed. So the lads that haven't got anything to fish to, that they're really starting to struggle. Well, they've caught nothing from the start, to be honest. So I'm going to pay all my attentions now for the rest of the day are going to be to this left-hand side. Whether it's tight in the edge, where I'm seeing a few fish, the line where I caught a few fish, or this one right in the middle of the pads. I think this is the only area I need to be concentrating on. It's where all my fish are going to come from. So I've still got plenty of time left, still got over 4 hours left in the match. Got loads of time to catch a few fish. There's quite a few fish topping in that little area there as well. That could be worth a little sneaky cast to in a bit with the feeder. Fish on that shorter one then. Yep. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to literally nick one off each and see what's happened. There definitely seems to be fish to be caught on the outside of the lily pads, but like what happened before, catch a couple and then my pegs are going to go funny, so I'm not actually going to let that happen. I'm just going to catch one and then move straight away. I'm just going to see if I can get away with alternating the two lines and see what we can do. So there's enough depth on this closer one that I've just made to hold fish on it. It's probably what, nearly 2 foot deep, 1.5 foot, nearly 2 foot. So there is enough water for the fish to settle, hopefully. But with a bit of luck, by not continuously feeding both lines, I'll be able to keep fish coming a lot better by swapping between the two. I've just had a little bit of bait right in the edge to me right as well, in the same depth that I found on this rig. Right, that might be somewhere that I'll try later on if I see any signs of life down there. Then we might have a little go. We shall see. I'm going to get rid of that one because this is going to be a bit of pulling going on. The same, I've made this rig a little bit heavier than the others. We've got a 18 main line on this. We've got a seriously durable main line, not happy with that. Let's have a go. And the theory with this one, hopefully, is that if we can strike towards the lilies, if we get a bite, then the fish will go t'other way. But whether it does that or not, who knows. A little bit more bristle showing on this one down the edge, just to try and prevent myself from striking at too many false indications. If I foul lock any fish on this, it'll not be pretty at all. See, with the commotion that we're going to cause by catching a fish like that, I'm not going to get another bite very quick. So that's where that alternating them comes in. I just catch that one. A bit of orange on that one, like a little goldfish thing going on. 3, 4, 5. So catch one, and I think it's going to be best to. In fact, no, we're just going to give it one little go and see if I get a second. And if not, then I am going to stick to that like regime of just one move, another one move, and keep skipping between the two. Just to start with, I'm just going to give it a second chance just to see. See that where I've hooked that fish, it's stirred up all the peg, so it must be a very soft bottom around there, although there's no bubbles coming up. It looks like a very, very soft bottom, which may cause some problems with with getting nice clean bites later on if a lot of fish come into the peg. Let's see, I've had no indications after feeding that bit of bait, so the fish aren't whizzing in as soon as I'm putting any stuff in. Indication ends, fish in the peg. I think going any further up that channel would be a bit daft, wouldn't it? There seems to be more fish moving up that top end of it. Come on, baby. It's took a long time to actually get in any took a long time to get any indications after that, after I caught the first fish. So what I'm going to feed a little bit of bait, not a lot, just like 2 cad pots worth. I'm going to go back on the other one. Still some carp further on, a little bit further down that channel. There's the odd carp moving, but I don't think there's any way of getting them out if I was a hook fish there, so it's pointless. That's one for those carp then. We go one-eyed Willie. One eye, that one. Right, well I think we've got 2.5 hours of the match left now. And from what I've seen, I think we're doing okay. I think I've got about 15 or 16 fish, which will give me about 20, 25 pounds, something like that. So we're ticking over. There's very little fish being caught. The most fish I've seen is a bloke in the middle section there. Has probably got about 6 or 7 fish. But again, they only look like small F1s, so I think it's just a case of it's fishing really, really hard today. It's been cold last night and the fish have definitely took the knock a bit. But what I'm going to do, you can sort of tell it's starting to change a bit. I'm getting more indications on every single line that I fish. I'm not getting a lot of bite, but every time I go on a new line, you can tell there's fish there. The float's moving about and the lilies are knocking a little bit and the weeds are twitching down the edge. So the fish are starting to wake up a bit. I think realistically I've got to set myself a target of, if I can catch between 40 and 50 pounds, I'll be really, really happy with that. And that'll give me a good chance of at least winning my section in this area of the lake. So with not knowing the place, I don't know if around the backside's better or what. I've not got a clue. But in this area, it's definitely fishing really, really hard. So just by ticking over, I'm rotating 4 different places now. So I've got either side of this lily bed in the deeper water and then the shallower water down the edge. And I'm doing exactly the same on the lily bed to my right as well. Well, I've not seen anywhere near as much activity to the weeds on my right. But it's given me somewhere to rest these 2 lines. It's noticeable I'm getting a lot less indications on this lily bed now. It's as if every time I hook one, I'm spooking the fish and they're getting more and more nervous, if you like. They're not settling on the feed anymore. So I'm having to wait a lot longer in between bites on each of the lines. But I think my match now, I've definitely got to settle within these 4 little areas. There's nowhere else I can really go. There's no use chucking that bread anymore. I've not seen a sign of a fish up by the cafe. And it's still noticeable that there's no fish getting caught in open water. Anyone without a features caught, really, really struggled today to catch anything. So unless anything changes, I think I'm best just sticking with these 4 lines. Just all I'm doing is feeding micros and fishing a formal expander over the top. So hard pellet's been a complete waste of time. I've not had a bite on hard pellet today. So it really has switched into winter mode. Although the rigs are quite beefed up a bit because of what I'm having to get the fish out of. It's always going to happen. Let's catch some roach. Oh, yeah, let's just fish for some roach or some maggots. That's a good idea, isn't it? We got him. Well, it's definitely not what we were expecting to do. Right, well, out of desperation more than anything, I started feeding maggots short on these lily pads because I thought I couldn't get any bites down there. That's completely dried up now and no one's catching anything. So I'd heard that there were quite a few silvers in here and some eyed, and I thought there was half a chance catching some F1s on it. But it took about 15 minutes to get a bite, and I've just had one straight away off a decent F1. My maggots just past them pads I'm fishing in. So hopefully if I can feed some maggots here and get some silvers competing, then we can keep on catching. Whereas I said last time that it was changing a little bit and we were starting to get a few bites. Now it seems that the whole lake's like completely switched off and we're not getting any bites whatsoever. So if I can put another 10 pound of accident fish on these maggots in the net in that time, that'll be brilliant. Because it's the last thing I wanted to do was have to resort to something this negative. But with the way it's fishing, if I'm gonna take any money home, then I think it's gonna be the way we have to go. We're just gonna have to catch literally whatever we can in this last little period of the match. So we fed a bit of bait down the edge, so there's half a chance that they could turn up down the edge. But I can't sort of expect that to happen, so I've just got to do whatever I can and catch whatever I can on these maggots. So I'm fishing really light on this. I'm just fishing single 6 elastic. With no 10 bottom and a little tiny 4x12 float. And this definitely wasn't what I expected to happen, was catch these fish on it, but so we'll take them now. We'll stick with this, see how it goes. What's going on, dude? Right, well, we got an hour left now of the match, and a few lads have been walking about, and it's really hard all the way around from what I've heard. They're catching a few on the far side, but no one's running away with it. It's definitely going to be a low weight jobby at the moment. So I've caught a few fish on them maggot short. It surprised me on that. I've caught 4 F1s and a few silvers, a few perch and a few little tiny roach, but the little tiny roach seems to have taken over that peg. So I've had another go down the edge. I've had one more F1 there on maggots because I fed a few maggots just to see if they wanted those instead. But it hasn't really made any difference. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to this deep line on the right hand side of the pad. I'm just going to give it 15 minutes, see what I catch. And if I don't catch anything, I'm going to go back on that bomb and bread and I'm going to fish that till the end of the match. So I reckon I've got, at the moment, I think I've got nearly £30 maybe. So if I can catch maybe a nice big 8 or 10 pounder up that bank, which I think is a much more better chance than I've got of catching any F1s, then that'll put me in a position that I've got a chance of getting a bit of money. So we'll just give this 10 minutes first, just see if we can get a few bites. It's very noticeable that no one's catching anything now whatsoever. other than little silvers. So I think I may as well give myself the chance of catching a big fish to push me up a bit, instead of struggling along trying to catch F1s that just don't want to feed. There's very few fish moving in the lilies now. I'm not seeing them knocking the lily pads anymore. There's no sign of fish anywhere. So I think it has completely switched off now. So, say 2 quick casts on this, and then back on the bomb and bread. Let's see if we get a big lad. Right, well, I've got half an hour left now, and I've just had, I've had 3 F1s on this long line. Again, it's a real waiting game. You're getting the odd little indication, letting you know that there's fish there. But I've just got to keep putting my rig in over and over again. Eventually one will have it. I think they're just hanging at half depth under the pads, and sneaking out now and again to get the odd pellet. But still, not many fish are getting caught. A few of the chaps in the middle pond there are catching the odd F1. But I've just heard one of them say he's got 16. So I think I've probably got 20 odd, so I'm slightly ahead on numbers. Plus I've got that carp from earlier on the bread. So I think my plan was to have a quick go on this and then chuck that bomb and bread. I think listening to what everyone's saying, with it being so hard, it might be a bad move to go on that bomb and bread, because I might not catch a fish. Whereas I think if I sit on this, at least there's a chance I'm going to catch 1 or 2 more F1s in the last half hour, giving me another couple of pounds, which there's a good chance that's going to make the difference at the end with it fishing so difficult. So I'm going to plug away at this. I'm still feeding a few maggots short. There's always the option to drop on that, catch a few small fish in the outside chance of another F1. I think for the meantime we're going to sit on this and give it another 15 minutes, see if I can catch 1 more. And if not, we'll have a little play, but just for that last little bit of the match, just to top the weight up and get us a little bit closer to 40 pounds. I think I've got about 33 to 35 pounds in the net now. So I don't think that'll be enough to win the match, but if I can beat everyone I can see, then that's all I can hope for, to be honest. We shall see how it goes. Get them all in one, Judd. No fannying about, mate. No. Rich, we need photos or anything? No.
No, let's just go home.
Yeah, let's go on. Nice 4 hours on the M6.
What was your admission to?
Big cow. 40 down the near, isn't it?
39.12.
Thank you, sausage. Look at that.
Turn to 90 gently.
Thank you, sir. No, I've enjoyed that. No, but it's been alright. No, but it's been alright because it's been... Right, we finished the match with £39 odd, which I'm well happy with, to be honest. There's been a £50 that's won the match, a £40, let's say I'm third overall with £39. It's been a really hard day. There's been quite a few £30 weights, so it's been a nice fair match. I definitely feel that not knowing the venues really cost me today, because if I'd have fished maggots a little bit earlier and caught a few more silvers and that, I'd have definitely been able to boost my weight up over £50. But so it's been a good learning day, nice busy day switching around. It's been a shame about a few fish we've lost in the pads, but it's always going to happen on a peg like that. But other than that, we're made up. So thanks for watching. See you again soon.